It's time to solve the Wednesday crossword on January 21st, 2026. This one is by Ginny 2 and Avery G. Katz, which I'm excited to get into. And this is a very interesting grid shape as well. Let's take a look at this. Ooh, okay. So this is an interesting way to have this puzzle, but you see that there are some identical clues on some of these rows here. So, oh, I also see some with this as well. So there is one fill in the blank here as well, which is italicized. So that indicates that it's a themed clue. But let's take a look at what I might be able to get without what words I can get around this. Practiced pitches. So I think this is talking to pitches. Well, you might be like thrown or through. We'll practice with a practiced pitches. So this might be like you're doing the practicing. So the answer would be a verb. But what I think this might be getting at is that these are pitches that are practiced. So I think this is a plural noun. That leads me to think this is spiels, because they are pitches, other ways to say pitches. So it is a bit of a tricky word there. I think scusi for Italian apology, some pullover shirts, something with an S, polos, I think. I think that works. Any course with a name that ends in 101 is an intro course. Bird with a plume that ounce for ounce was once worth more than gold. I think this might be an egret. So let's take a look at this. Lee has a hot bowl of congee, maybe, to start off his day. And what is this? Enemy of the Avengers is Age of Ultron. That was the movie that Ultron was in. That was the only Avengers movie that I saw. That was years ago. And I didn't understand the plot. Gentleman in Granada. So this is telling us to find this. And the name is sort of in the language that Granada's language is in. So this should be Spanish. So señores? Señor? Maybe I think it's señores with an es at the end. I'm gonna take a look at it later. Like the study of the Kabbalah is esoteric. So excuse. I don't know. I think it would be esoteric. I'm not really sure exactly what the Kabbalah is, but I think it's a word that just means like ancient stuff. These in Spanish. Okay, so that's a single Spanish. So estas or estos. I don't remember I don't remember it exactly, but I'm gonna go with that. My gut tells me that it's estas, estos, but I might be misremembering what that is. Or these, yeah, these. Okay. Polarizing punctuation choice. Semicolon? Semi quotes. Let's take a look at if this is a M. Or this is Sir, British title. Take a look at what else there is. Like those, local to Universal Studios Japan is the demonym for Osaka. That's where Universal Studio Japan is. Captured, you might have took. What arms might do on a final gym rep? I mean, they would fail. They might tire out. I think this might be what it is about. Bit of sweat. Maybe that's drop. Then hide one's roots, perhaps. Well, I mean, this would be like lie about one's ancestry. Maybe hide one's roots, perhaps. Maybe it's like cover up your trail. Mrs. en français. Maybe it's not this, because I know that what this is. This is Madame, and that's typically abbreviated. Well, it is abbreviated as MME. Then Lee has a hot bowl of oatmeal, maybe. So is this sort of the idea of like, well, this is an Asian way to, this is sort of like an Asian porridge, and this is a Western porridge. Is that the kind of thing that's happening here? Is this what the divide is between these two things? I'm gonna take a look at this and see if that's the case, but I'm pretty sure that's oatmeal. A bit of sweat. A tear of sweat? British title is a dame. Ultimatum ender is, you might say, or else. Like, do this thing or else. We'll see what this is. What arms might do on a final gym rep? Time mode? Mead? What would this letter be? Let's take a look at this. Hide one's roots. I still can't figure that one out. Ones with the munchies. That's not right. That's lady, because I was thinking as one with the munchies. I know that's what you get after you smoke weed. So that's potheads. Then bit of sweat. Is that tear? Really? Or bead? Sorry, bead of a bead of sweat. And to hide one's roots. Ah, okay, that's clever. So in this case, roots was talking about like the true color of your hair, like you're dyeing it so like they can't see the roots of your hair. Then arms might tremble on a final gym rep. Yes, like some government bonds and Uber drivers. Well, you can rate your Uber drivers. You can also rate government bonds. They might be like A plus rated or something, triple A rated. I think that's what the highest one is. Ethnic minority. Drill insert is a bit. I'm not sure what exactly that looks like. I think it's a little spinny thing. Shredded as a contract. You tore up. Says hello to his neighbor. Is this ni hao? I'm guessing that this is talking about like Chinese versus English. So I'm just going to go with that. Polarizing punctuation choices. The serial comma, the Oxford comma, is sort of the idea of like if you have certain things in a list, do you put a comma before the and in that list of things? A, B, and C. Because if you leave out the serial comma, then you're exposing yourself to quite a few bit of ambiguities with like language. But if you I think like newspapers like to leave out the serial comma just because it saves a bit of space. So there's some style guides that have various opinions on the serial comma. It's a prefix with vitamin or tool. Multivitamin or a multi-tool. Athlete aiming for 4 mile finish, perhaps. For 4 minute finish. Well, okay, 4 minute mile. I know that's. I'm guessing a miler is an athlete that is a runner that specializes in the mile, because I know that like typically the human limit is around 4 minutes. It was a big deal when the sub 4 minute was achieved by Roger Bannister actually in Oxford, which is exciting. One end of an electrolytic cell. Well, that should be an anode. I'm just thinking in terms of batteries here, and an anode is one side of a battery. Like the villain at the end of a Scooby-Doo episode, I suppose that they have like a sort of they're sort of gagged like and just tied up to a tree post, like pretty comical way to end or to be captured. So I think it's going to be muted. And this HM makes me suspect, without reading this yet, that this might be H Mart. So I'm going to check that. Warm and cozy. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not muted then. I think it's, well, this one typically is homie. Spelled with an EY as opposed to an IE, because homie is homie is like your bro, but homie like this is in a similar way to homely, but homely suggests more like humble kind of log cabin vibe, sort of like rustic or sort of quaint. But homey is just sort of warm, like a home and cozy. So homely and homey just kind of mean slightly different things, but this is definitely a word. Okay, Empire State of Mind. I think that's what it. I mean, I don't know what else it would be. Sure, government sites for testing pollutants. So I don't actually recall ever hearing this in like actual speech, but I've definitely seen this in puzzles before. Unfortunately, it's might be one of those crossword use things, but nevertheless, this is probably a real thing though. We have EPA labs, so I suppose the EPA sets up labs in various locations to check out air quality and pollution. So let's take a look at what else there is here. Oh, I'm guessing just because it's something game. I'm guessing this is mahjong, and I'm guessing this is like beer or bridge. I think it's bridge because it's a 4 player card game. Same thing with mahjong. So let's leave it with that and see if I'm right. Steely Dan album, whose name is pronounced Asia, is actually Asia. Okay, so that J confirms that this is definitely mahjong. Provide for free as a drink is to comp. Suffix with method or metaphor. Methodes? I don't know what that is. Government organ alias. Well, the government org I'm thinking is the CIA. And to pine is to ache for something, maybe. Opportunity to dress up is some occasion. You might dress up for an occasion. Suffix with method or metaphor. Metaphorical, methodical. Okay, sure, that's a suffix. It doesn't have to be a real word. Satisfies, you might please. If you please someone, you satisfy them. Ones with chiseled abs, torsos, maybe. I'm not sure if it's blank 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 SOS. I'm pretty sure it might just be torsos. Entertainer who says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love someone else? Makes me think this is either a singer or it's a stand-up comedian, motivational speaker. It's not really an entertainer. Let's see what else there is. Collectible caps in the 90s are Pogs. I didn't play with them, but I've seen people talk about them. This is Abu Dhabi. Then what is this? Transition on an online marketplace is an eBay sale. Then spar on a sailing boat. A spar? Is a spar a thing? Because I know you can spar, like you can fight. Is this like a sword fight? If you spar on a sailing boat, is there a certain word for that? Comment that breaks the fourth wall is an aside, like in a play or something. You might have like the characters freeze, except for one that's like giving a monologue to the audience. Feudal lord is a liege. German steel city is SN. I don't know anything about that otherwise. Inflation measures for short. I think this is talking about pressure. So PSI is a term for pressure. Like when you inflate a balloon, I suppose that's what they actually mean by inflation. Let's see what else there is. I think this might just be like one of those wood beams on a sailboat or something. I think this would be a sprit. Eagle's nests are Aries, and a sateen is a luxurious cotton fabric. Yeah, sure. Now let's see what this is. Recycling container is a bin. Let's go with that. Top of the line is A1. This is also sort of a very common thing to see in puzzles, so watch out for that. Life across the Pacific Ocean is much the same. Is that a common phrase? I'm not sure, but I do think this is sort of what the themer is in a way, because it's a long one and it kind of brings together the whole idea. What we have here, we have we have these two pairs of things of kind of the same clue, right? And it's a nice touch. It's sort of a nice message because it's sort of saying, right, like these two things are basically exactly the same. They're just sort of different, in culture, but fundamentally you can write the same clue for both of them, which is nice. So bracket busting wins in March Madness are upsets. They're just like surprising victories, I suppose. To let float as a currency. To let float. I'm not sure what that means. So pertaining to hair. I don't know what that is. Welcome sight for a sailor is the shore. Patronizes as a restaurant. If you patronize a restaurant, you might eat at a place. So eats at, like you might just go there for their services. Treatment for a sprained ankle is ice. Life story are bios. And slime is goo. Then what is this? A Great Escape, I think. The Great Escape. I've heard of that somewhere. I don't think I've actually seen that. But classic prisoner of war movies starring Steve McQueen. The Great Escape. That makes a lot of sense. Bona fide means genuine. Okay, entertainer RuPaul. Okay, so RuPaul, I guess, as a host for a TV show, yeah. If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love someone else? It's a nice sentiment. So that's clearly it. So all ears, I think this is ears, just based off these two letters. Your all ears means like you're listening. Pertaining to hair. I'm thinking this is L. Pilar. I'm thinking of, in terms of words that are related to hair. I think I remember PIL being a somewhat somewhat of a common like a prefix for hair things, but it might not be. I'm thinking of like capillaries. I don't think that's etymologically related. I'm just trying to remember what it is that was PIL something. But I'm pretty sure it's pilar. I'm not sure. Just have a big feeling for this. This makes me think they might be foiled. This is plots. You might foil a evil plot. And then to let float as a currency is to unpeg. All right, nice. So let's unpack this a little bit more. I still don't know what pilar. I mean, it clearly is the correct answer, but I was trying to find a word that means something with hair that has PIL in it to sort of have that etymological connection to this word. But I can't really think of anything else. But let's just take a look at everything else within this puzzle. So we have Pacific Ocean, which of course I've already explained was the theme of this puzzle. So we have these three things that are similar, basically analogous, exactly the same across the Pacific Ocean, which is nice. Then do we have any difficult clues here? Well, I'm looking for ones that have question marks because those are ones that the constructors have specifically labeled as being trickier than the others. Ones with chiseled abs makes me think, well, um, chiseled abs, you might think of the person in general, like, I don't know, like buff guys. So maybe you might think, okay, well, this answer means a buff guy, but really, I think this is just being a bit more literal. So it's actually torsos, or perhaps it's a reference to chiseled abs. Like maybe you're chiseling a statue, and then the statue is specifically of just like a torso. Maybe it's like a bust, not a bust, but maybe it's just like a full figure, or maybe just like a half figure, and then you have just the torso of someone, and their abs might be chiseled on that. So um, perhaps torso has that meaning specifically to a statue, maybe. In any case, let's take a look at what else. Oh, I remember PSIs for inflation measures. So I I think there was something else that was literally referring to inflation of like an economy. I think it was CPI, current price index or something. I think it's just some number that represents like how affordable in general certain commodities are. So if it goes up, it just like in general things are more expensive. But um, I just don't really remember how it works. I don't even know if this explanation is correct. But PSIs in this case definitely means like PSIs in terms of pressure, how much pressure there is in something. Now, on this bottom section, there are certainly a lot more difficult words, unless you've seen them before. Like I've definitely seen this one. The German steel city is Essen. It's in the Ruhr Valley. I think it's um, what's the word? Manufacturing. It's an industrial city or industrial county within Germany. Let's take a look at other things. Multi-miler anode. So um, I guess this is my first time actually hearing of miler like as a word, but there are a lot of I suppose real words that are kind of just er words. Um, so miler. I wonder if there's a thing like a 5K. I mean, I'm sure there's. Okay. Now that I think about it, yeah, there are marathoners, there are sprinters. So I think it wouldn't be um, unreasonable to expect that there is something called a miler as well. I mean, I'm not very familiar with track like terminology, but I'm sure that like if people like that are out there, I'm sure they would refer to people just as like as miler, like in their jargon. Nice. All right. Well, I think that's a very straightforward theme, but nonetheless, it was a very fun one, and I guess it's a good message. So, it's also, I suppose, it's also a nod to the two constructors. I think they had a specific message in mind. Um, that I think well, Chinese culture and Western cultures are very similar. Yeah, it's a good one.